If you liked this episode of the Hockey IQ podcast, please leave a like, a comment, and especially review our podcast. If you truly listened all the way to the end and you're listening to this right now, you enjoyed this episode. Please go and give it a 5-star review. That helps us out more than you know. Thank you so much and look forward to the next one. On the Hockey IQ podcast today, we bring on Ray Tenenbaum, who's been dying to do the reverse podcast. Because Ray here has an app, and I'll let you introduce the app, Ray, that is quite awesome at getting into the weeds and putting out good content monthly. Um, Probably geared more to the women's game, but also is just good for anyone who wants to dive more into the weeds and it has some awesome guests. I believe Ben Cavan was on at one time, who came from Double A hockey and just got drafted. I want to say the second round of the NHL draft, and looks like he's on an upward trajectory still. So Ray, excited to have you on. Excited to field some great questions.
Yeah, and let me just clarify on that one. We had Ben Kivon's dad on talking just prior to the draft on how he raised his son. So if you want to listen to that episode, I believe it's episode 114, you can learn about how they raised their son in a very positive way that he was able to be successful, like you said, starting off in Double A hockey. And thank you, Champs app, for folks who haven't heard of it before. While it does, we have specialized on the women's side up until recently. We actually definitely have gotten into the men's side and the boys side over the last several months. And the actual app can be used for both. That's basically there are elements of creating a player profile for free and being able to share it with coaches and connect directly with coaches, similar to LinkedIn. And there are other tools like being able to message with coaches and send them personalized emails and tracking if they've been opening them and things like that as part of the recruiting process. So I would just encourage folks, if they want to check it out, please go ahead. We do have a lot of content. We have a lot of tools. And most importantly, the significant majority of everything that we offer is free. And it's all about really kind of helping players go through the recruiting and player development process.
Yeah, you've had two kids kind of just recently go through the process a little bit, so it's definitely coming from someone who truly understands all of the issues that are involved and the technology that can really help in the process. So Ray, excited for everyone to go check that out.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So let's get this going. And I'm going to start asking you questions. And just so folks know, Greg was on one of our webinars that we held about a month ago and answered a whole bunch of questions that I had for him at the time. But we didn't get through everything, including some questions on his presentation. So we're going to actually try and bring some of those up as we go along here. And I believe there's one player that both of us have taken an interest in over the last year or so. It's a player that I've been watching since he played at Boston University. And he was named the Calder Rookie of the Year last season in the NHL for the Montreal Canadiens, and that's Lane Hutson. So my question to you is, because I know you've done some tracking of him and sharing some videos on what he does, what makes him so special?
Lane thinks the game obviously at a very high level, and that's what makes him special. But there's a lot of elements that go into any player. And one of the cool things that I've been talking about for a long time is like skating's all in the ankles. And one of the things that I read as a kid was Lemieux would practice with his skates so loose he could kick them off when he was done. So of course, being a kid whose folks are from Pittsburgh was like, I'm going to try that out. And that was one of the greatest things ever. I was learning basically to skate with my skates untied. And I think there's a lot of good benefits that come from that. One, you actually are able to get into great flexion positions and good postures, but also you're able to really control and understand your edges. Because if you're not able to get into a good glide phase, it's going to feel terrible on your ankles, either going way in or way out. You're really able to lock in and build up the strength. So I think the skating and how he and his dad and his brothers have all done that as a way of developing their skating is really wonderful. And the first two, three strides of all the Hudson brothers are absolutely mind-boggling good. So they can really jump around out there and jolt to spots and catch people by surprise despite being quote unquote undersized. So I think that's really good. Another thing that really catches my eyes is I say they kind of play like Lionel Messi. Like Lionel Messi is the ultimate pass and move guy. Like he makes a pass and immediately takes two strides to whatever direction he's going. And same with all the Hudson brothers, which is why you're seeing Cole just kind of rock it up. So Lane's brother's also coming. Maybe not as electric as Lane, but not too far behind him. But that pass and move, like pass and get open, is super elite, and just like the passion that they clearly play with. They play with a little bit of jam, a little pizzazz, and um, the NHL is the greatest league at body positioning, owning space, and Lane is really good at that. So he'll step into your way and have access where you like bump him into the puck, and now he's got some separation as you bumped him before he got to the puck. So a lot of great things and details that add up to a fantastic defenseman, let alone fantastic player. It's not often you see a player probably 5'9" excel and win Rookie of the Year and hold his own in the defensive zone as well. So he's a wonderful player, absolutely wonderful in all aspects of the game. And Seamus Casey is another one I think is coming along. Similar trajectory, similar type player. Maybe doesn't have the first like quickness, but has really nice power. And once he fills out his frame a little bit, it's going to be just as exciting for the New Jersey Devils.
Gotcha. And remind me where he went to school.
Who went to school?
Where did Seamus go to school? I forget off the top of my head.
University of Michigan. Yeah,
Okay, just making sure I got that one. All right, great.
with a friend Narado. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. We could keep going on Lane Hudson all day, but let's kind of move forward. We're in the middle of August right now. If teams haven't already started practicing, they will be practicing basically by early next week as they prepare youth teams for the new season. I believe even there will be some games even coming up in the next few days. I'm just curious, since you're probably getting back on the ice with your team, what should players be doing these first couple of weeks before the real games really start?
For me, I always start with just physical preparation. So thinking about body contact being a big piece of our sport and just being safe out there, I always start with that, especially at the high school level where there are players that know how to body check and others that don't, and it can be a very dangerous world compared to the place where everyone knows what they're doing or has done it for quite some time and very comfortable. So for me, it always starts with body contact and making sure that we're safe out there, and then building from there. For me, I just love to go back to practice number one. And the biggest pet peeve of mine is the coaches are super excited. The players are super excited. The coaches show their excitement by doing all of these great skill drills where everyone stands around and is bored halfway through. Meanwhile, the players just want to go and play with their buddies. Like, let's just go get after it a little bit. So, one of my pet peeves, something I try to avoid personally with my teams is first day of practice is let's just go play a bunch of small area games or scrimmage. Let's all take advantage of that excitement level that's out there before maybe we start doing some things that to work on skating and other items that may not be quote unquote as fun as just going out and playing shinny with your friends.
Got it. All right. So over, I guess, from the draft to over the following week and a half or so, there were a lot of NHL development camps, and you were analyzing a lot of that footage as it kind of came up and making a lot of comments about what you liked and what you don't like. So a couple of questions. What does that tell you about how players are being developed based on what you were seeing? And then, what did you love that you're going to apply in your development camp now that your teams are starting?
Um, okay, so we'll start with the analyzing. I'm not sure I was doing much analyzing when I was sharing that thread. Um,
Well, there are certain things you
uh,
liked and certain things you didn't like. That was for sure.
yes. There's teams that do it well, like Chicago, who don't even step on the ice. Teams that do it well, like the Montreal Canadiens, which do step on the ice, but they have very ecological practices, things that I would definitely say go towards how you would want to actually develop high level athletes. And then there's others that continually disappoint, like the St. Louis Blues, sometimes Nashville Predators. The goalies are always fantastic. Mitch Cornish, best goalie coach for my money, always does it well and does it right. Um, but yeah, for me, I'm looking for players at that level. If you're not doing individual stuff by then, you're probably not getting drafted in the first place. everyone's kind of has access to ice and access to talent, coaching, etc. So how do we best get the most out of that time together? It's probably going towards reads. Maybe for management, it's kind of snuffing out where our prospects are now. And you really don't get to know a player until they're all playing together and they're going against each other. So there's always that yin and the yang, cat and mouse, however you want to say it. So for me, I'm looking for more things where there's actual bodies going back and forth. There's not going through the motions. There's pucks involved when we're talking about any kind of skating development, things of that nature.
Gotcha. So what is it you're going to apply? Is it going to be skating with pucks or any other things that you're going to apply when you start kind of doing these development camps, so to speak, for with your own players?
Well, at this point, I've either pissed enough people off or made enough friends through the NHL, where kind of a general idea of everything that's going on and what I like and what I don't like. But for me, when I think about how do we best go about developing our players, obviously everything goes through the feet. So how can we clean up our feet? So a lot of stuff, if you're going to do it somewhat individualistic, is going to be around um, puck-centered skating. So the puck is involved through the skating. Like there's so many clips of players where they look fantastic in their skating drills or skating routines, and then you throw one puck in there and they look like Bambi again. So why not start with the puck? Or you can scale up and down the level of difficulty with the puck. If you've got a wide range of talent on your team, maybe a player just needs no pucks because they can barely stand up as is, versus the player that's played AAA hockey and I got to add two or three pucks to keep the same level of difficulty or overload them a little bit, so we keep everyone engaged. So for me, puck centric skating is always involved. Another big separating factor that I always see with players as they go up is just the ability to catch passes, particularly hard passes on both forehand and backhand, and immediately place that into a good spot. If you can't do that, it's hard to play make and work together and all of these other fun things that everyone wants to get to and coaches would love to dive into. So you need the ability to catch pucks and keep the puck moving, and then it starts coming down to pet peeves and play style, and that's where you start entering in small area games, small sided games is the way I like to call it, in areas that we're able to effectively teach the game through the game, but also take ourselves out of the games and out of the situations and out of the drills as coaches so we can focus on the details, ask questions, engage with players, free up our time, our eyes, etc.
Got it. So you're mentioning of players should always be practicing their skating with a puck. Reminds me of the first person that ever told me that is a former guest on your podcast, Andre Lacroix, the leading scorer of the WHA. He once saw me out there working on my skating, and he goes, "Hey Ray, you need the puck over there. You need to put the puck when you start skating, otherwise it don't matter." So
That is a
that's
great
that.
impersonation of Andre. Yeah, so Andre, he was out in California where you're at for a long time, and then he moved back to Ohio to be close to his daughters, and that's where I got to know him because he was still is at the rink that I grew up at. So I got to know Andre quite well. One of my favorite facts about Andre is he had a double A team in the Cleveland area, and all I think it was 18 or 19 players ended up going on to be captains at their high schools.
Yeah, he's very, very knowledgeable, and probably the reason why I believe he's still the leading scorer all time in the WHA, and probably will be so forever.
One
Given,
of five players to have 100 assists in a season in
yeah,
professional hockey.
and not a big
Maybe
man at
six
all.
now with Kucherov and all those guys.
Yeah, not a big man either. He's probably about the same size as Lane Hudson
Five,
is.
five,
So
seven, maybe.
yeah, there you go, there you go. All right, so let's keep going. Let's just talk about the fundamentals of player development. You've written about this topic before. What is boring before brilliance?
Yeah, boring before brilliance. It's just the time that you have to spend to be good at anything. Um, all of those moments where you're trying to kind of figure things out. It's kind of like the salesman who does the same pitch over and over again and still somehow keeps it engaging. We've got to understand the consistency that is required to be great at anything. There are days where you're going to get up in the morning and be like, I really don't feel like doing this. Well, you got to do it anyways. For us people in the working world, it's like you got to show up and go to work. Just showing up is a good win. A little bit more if you can do it with some passion, and bonus if you can do that every single day, day in and day out, and bring the positivity to affect all of those around you. That will go down to maybe some religious rabbit holes where we're talking about showing godliness through actions. But you've got to be able to handle the boring routine, the brushing of your teeth every day, etc., whatever that might be. If you're board stick handling and you're righty, go stick handle left-handed for a little bit. Something to shake it up, manage yourself a little bit to make it engaging, so you can hit those moments of brilliance as you're prepared. You've put in the work. You've put in those quote unquote boring times, the stuff where you kind of had to force yourself to do things that are required for excellence.
That actually might lead into the next question because it might be the answer to it. But given all everything that you've learned watching players that you've coached yourself kind of develop, as well as tracking other players that you've just followed through your different various coaching interests, what do you see as the biggest attributes that are most correlated with future success when you start seeing players at 12, 13, 14 years old?
Players that are willing to do whatever it takes. Um, that is just the number one thing. Now, with that, I think one of the underlying traits is a little bit of stubbornness, like the stick-withedness. When it becomes a grind, a little bit of that stubbornness, but just that ability to and willingness to do whatever it takes. You're not stuck in your ways for, I'm the power play guy who plays on the right flank. Well, okay, Patrick Kane's in the way. You're telling me you're just going to go and take his spot, or are you able to go and figure out a role and build yourself up? Are you able to figure out what are these little assets that I need to add to my game, or how do I change my skill set slightly, or how do I differently use that to bring positive effects to my team, whatever aspect I'm at. My dad always said, you got to bloom where you're planted first, and then from there you can affect change. But if you just go in with an expectancy, it's usually going to create a problem, and then you got to have the ability to work to back it all up. So, got to do the stuff away from the rink. Everyone has access, pretty much, if you're on the same team, to the same amount of practice that you do. So, if you want to go up the lineup, where are you going to find your difference maker? It's going to be away from the team, one. And two, if you're a much better learner and are willing to be curious, ask questions, be engaging, and squeeze more juice out of the lemon during practice time or chalk talk time, whatever that is. Those are the two big areas. So I always tell kids that are in our program or coming up in the Future Wolves program that we need to be doing more if you want to be good. If you just want to hang out with your buddies and play, like that's fine. But if you want that level of excellence, you want to go up the chain, want to go up the ladder, you got to be doing stuff away. You got to find a routine, and you got to figure out how can I get the most out of this situation. Like I feel like I was probably the crazy one in college. Everyone else was excited when the teacher was 15 minutes late and got to go home, and I'm like really upset. I'm like, I paid for this. Like I'm getting something out of this moment right now. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's a different mindset, right? Than everybody else. Than the as the bell curve, in between the two standard deviations. So got it. All right. So I have a son who'll be turning 18 soon. He's still playing, youth hockey, and then we expect him to be playing junior hockey next year. He still has not picked a role and focused on a role yet. He's still developing as a hockey player, but not everybody's like that. At what age should players start thinking about picking a role, on where they want to fit, on a team and focusing on being great at that role?
For the most part, role is relative. I try not to compare to the NHL because it's such a outlier of a league. But most times, role is relative. Like, what does a team need? What are you looking to play at? Why are you looking to play there? Really connecting with why you play the game or what do you love most about the game is super important. And then figuring out, okay, given my situation, or how can I put myself in a situation? If you got junior hockey, you usually have some options available too. You might be multiple leagues. If you're playing lower down, you might be able to choose where you go within a league. But finding the situation that suits you and you have a general idea on it, but then also figuring out, okay, now that I'm here, or if you got an option, you've been had a coach that's hopefully been truthful with you of like, oh, we're looking at you to be a third line grinder who kills penalties. Okay, well, you have an idea of things that you should work on. Again, bloom where you're planted, figure that out, and then show some flashes of this, show some flashes of that. Someone maybe gets injured or they're not effective, and coach is looking like, okay, who's shown the potential to do X, Y, and Z? Or who do I have faith in because I see them every single day doing this? Um, Finding ways to just show that you can do a job because no one ever gets promoted by doing a terrible job at where they are. It's a great first step. And having that willingness, even if you may stink at it at first, opens a lot of doors to maybe getting things that you would want, but going right ahead and saying, I want that, you have to give me that, is usually a recipe for disaster.
Got it. Okay. So well now let's go into actually playing games then, and in whatever role you're in. And let's say you're 15, 16, 17 years old and you're starting to get scouted. What do hockey scouts look for in a player when they're actually watching a game? Like what do you need to be aware of when you're actually playing and you're in whatever role you're in on the team?
So, things that hockey scouts look for. My head always goes to on offense, you're able to create for your teammates. So I kind of put this as technical and tactical empathy. So, do you make the game easier, harder on your teammates? That's huge. Um, can you set up? And like this is starting to get into the weeds of like when I'm looking for a player in my scouting, I'm looking for players that shape the game into their best attributes. Like there's some thoughtfulness about finding their ways into situations that they can take advantage of, not just always taking what the game gives you. I'm looking for players that are able to think maybe a little bit ahead or find themselves ahead from other assets they have. So that could be scanning to take information. Like that's something I'm always looking for. Like who's a player who's constantly looking around? Like they clearly value information, which eventually they're going to figure out what is the key information I actually need to be looking for and are able to make better and better decisions. Like that's something that very much is quickly learned if they know where to look. On the other side, I mean, if you're thinking about defense, the two things that no one else can do for you, one is retrievals. Like if you're a defenseman, you better figure out retrievals. There's no one else coming to help you. It's kind of like the Texans out in the very west at the Alamo. Like you're kind of on an island. You need to figure out how to be good at retrievals and help the breakout for your team. And the second one, just be able to take away time and space consistently. And then from an intangible standpoint, I mean, every coach notices who has good body language versus poor body language. Like if things aren't going well and you're just falling apart, clearly we don't have mental toughness. And every coach, whether they know it or not, is starting to ask themselves, like, am I going to be able to trust this player when things get hard and there's adversity? Because you're going to face adversity. It's not if, it's when. And can you be counted on to show up during the hard times, not just during the good times? And lastly, I'd say if you're doing any kind of interview, the number one thing that people are going to look for is just an accurate self-assessment, accurate self-awareness. So just making sure that you're in touch with that self-awareness piece. Um, Everyone kind of will be told their strengths and weaknesses, but being able to go beyond that and understand, okay, here's where I am, here's where I'm growing towards, and the pathway to get there, and just having a plan is, the ultimate first step in any shape and form of whatever endeavor you're in. But it all starts with an accurate self-assessment because if you start way off with your assessment of yourself, your situation, and try to plot a course from there, it's just not going to work. It's gonna be bad.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So those are some actually. I don't think most players would actually recognize those as the things that scouts would actually be looking for. I think they're more thinking about the flash and the goals and the basically beating people in one on one and making big offensive plays as opposed to just getting all the fundamentals and actually knowing what you're good at and what you're not good at.
Well, what you think about it, what's ice time? Ice time's trust. The coach wants to be able to trust people out there. Your boss wants to be able to trust the workers. Like anything in life, a lot of it's going to come down to dependability. Like you want to be a head coach. Well, someone's got to trust you and think you're dependable enough to accept the role and responsibility. Same as for a player.
Someone's got to put together a graphic that shows the correlation between ice time and trust from the coach. So that's a good
Please,
graphic
someone
to
do
work
that
with.
and send it to me. I will
we'll
I will
work on it.
gladly post that everywhere.
All right, let's shift to a slightly different topic that I know you've written about: zone entries. Talk about all the different ways to enter the zone and what should players be thinking as they are approaching the blue line with the puck.
Two things with zone entries. The number one thing is you need depth. Someone's got to get depth, whether it be on the puck or off the puck. You got to challenge behind the defense. The blue line is a powerful force for defensive team structure players. So someone's got to be able to expose the space behind and threaten that space behind. Without that, it's very, very, very difficult to have good zone entries. That's number one. Number two, I would say is if you can start to mess around with middle zone entries, you will start to understand so much more in depth about what leads to a good entry versus bad entry. I was playing just pick up with it's like ex NHL D1 kids. We're all old men at this point, but every once in a while we'll have some U16 or U15 AAA kids come out and play with us. And I noticed this one kid continuously would just try to use the speed and go wide. I'm like, all right, you're going to suck at this, but just trust me here. Go through every zone entry for the next 2 weeks, just using the middle. At first it was like running into the opposition, running into defensemen, turnovers galore. And um, slowly you could see the understanding of if I just like pump the brakes, like I don't need to stop or completely slow down, but just like hit a pump of the brakes, get the D to chase me, and then maybe I can go behind them. Or I'm opening up the space for someone to go into it. And it was just like a slow learning process of like at first it was so terrible, just running out of own space, own options, just running into the defense to slowly understanding, oh, this, that, and the other. But then not only did it make him better on the puck going through the middle with entries, but it made him more effective where he went off the puck. Because half the time he just go as fast as he could, or he get stuck at a blue line and be stuck in water. Um, and just understanding what are the elements that I need to attack space. Someone's got to get deep. If I'm not getting it, someone else has got to get it. Or if someone's going deep, well, maybe the space is now underneath and understanding that there's a passer and there's a receiver, and the receiver a lot of times is the most important player, and that's the one that needs to do all the work. Like Brett Hall is for me one of the greatest receivers of all time. Couldn't carry the puck very well, but he knew when and where to pop up. Wasn't just where to pop up, but he had the timing to pop up, and he was just a great hockey player, even though he wasn't a puck carrier. So I think those are elements. So for me, you got to figure out who's getting depth. Number two is if you can figure out middle entries, the rest all makes sense. You like here, oh, someone's got to drive the puck wide, or we need to just chip and chase in here because I'm getting stuck here at the blue line. Where's the next base going to be? So those for me, when I think zone entries are the number one and number two areas, depth, middle.
I think a lot of players should be listening to that answer because I think that would be quite mind expanding for them to actually understand exactly what you just said. But an important piece of that is you got to have the right players to play with because if you're trying to do it all yourself and you don't have the help, that's a big challenge.
Well, how do you also help your teammates get you what you need? Obviously, you guys are affecting each other. That's part of chemistry. But just even continuously talking and chatting the game is super important. Another great way to do is just like leading passes. So you're throwing a puck to an area, showing players where they need to go. Then you may want to talk about like, oh, hey, I'm throwing it there. Like, you got to get there. Like, that's space that we can really attack, whatever it may look like. But you can start with throwing a puck there, even though you kind of know they're not going to get it or they haven't seen the space yet. But next time that rep comes up or something similar is like that, the brain clicks. So I've done this a few times, just like regular pickup games wherever I've been, where I'll throw pucks and I'm like, this guy's not going to get this puck, but he's going to now know where to go, and we're going to talk about it real quick on the bench. So I'm making a turnover, making quote unquote a mistake. Hopefully, this is done in practice or done in scrimmages, small area games, whatever, small sided games. Now the next rep is recognized. We've talked about it. We're both on the same page of space that we're trying to exploit or how we're trying to approach a situation. How are we going about space? Like for me, I've always been a player that's been a little more cerebral. So I'm able to see things that others haven't. Well, I need to leverage that skill, that talent. Otherwise, I'm wasting that talent by not actually using it and sharing it with my teammates. And then there's a lot more success for not just myself, but them as well. And it's that edification where we're building each other up that's so wonderful.
So us move this into a related topic that you've written about, which is some players know what to do, some players don't know what to do always on the ice, and sometimes coaches or other their teammates need to teach them. But how do players know what the right play is?
Can you give me some more details into this? Because there's many ways we can take this answer.
Well, at a very simple level, Daryl Barrelfleet's talked about it. Like, you're gonna see three different options when you get somewhere. How do you decide to pick which one you're going to go with? As let's just say you're carrying the puck up, and you have speed. You could either skate it, you could pass it to someone who's slightly ahead of you, or you could take a different route to the other team's blue line. I'm just giving you just a random example. Like, how do you start making decisions on which is the best play or the right play at that time?
So I would say there's the attack puck and the possession puck. That's where I kind of start. Like you're coming onto a puck where you're either picking up a loose one, you're getting a pass. Is this a puck that we can attack with, or is this a puck that we simply just need to possess? And we're just kind of basically buying time until we find a really good situation. One of my favorite plays is like a pass goes to someone in the neutral zone. Their back is to the goal they're attacking. Well, they just play it back to the defenseman. Like he can see the ice way better. Not just like a boom quick and then back up, and that puck's in a much better spot than you would have ever had if you grabbed it and had to turn or face pressure, whatever that may be. So I'm always thinking, is it a puck that we kind of need to just find possession until things open up? Or is it something that now we can take this and attack? We can really push the pace, push the options. And then the second one would just be like, what improves the condition of the puck? Like that's the best play, the one that improves the condition in which the play is in our favor. So that might be really simple plays. It might be a little more complex stuff. And always start with maybe the simple stuff and then build to like, okay, what else can I potentially do here? I just don't want to take the easy route every single time. I got to be able to expand my horizon slightly. So for me, I always think that most of the time you're looking for the player with the most space. So space is big, and then the second piece would be speed. So they have a speed differential. They're picking up speed as someone's flat-footed or slowing down. Those are good situations to go into. So space and speed for me are those the kind of the big two. Is the more you get evolved, refined, you can start manipulating defenders to pull them out of space that other teammates can now attack and have a lot more space, and even better if they can get some speed going into that space. And then it just creates breakdowns along the way.
Got it. So I think you actually just answered my next question on what is intelligent puck management. Do you have anything else to add on kind of intelligent puck management?
What's the game calling for at the time? Like puck management is a key thing that you hear about, especially at the NHL level. Like I feel like NHL coaches, especially with young players coming to the NHL, they talk at it ad nauseum is like puck management. Okay, where does a puck need to go given the situation? Is this a puck that needs to get deep because we're all tired and we need to go change, or is this we're all fresh and ready to go? Let's try to make something happen off the rush here. So, just what is the game calling for? Is it calling maybe for some safety? Is it calling for some risk taking? And just making a best decision based on score line, placement of puck, teammates. If your defenseman been out there at a long change, you got 3 minutes of defensive zone time and they're just trying to get off, you're going to go try to make a one-on-one play at the blue line. That's a Patrick Line special. I don't know how many times I've seen that. I hope he's refining himself up there in Montreal land, but it's yeah, he's one of my most frustrating players. I feel like there's reasons why he's been moved to lack of evolution and lack of awareness for his teammates. So, um, unbelievable player, but leaves a lot to be desired from many fan bases.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not even going to go talk about Patrick Laine, but let's keep moving. So, what he probably doesn't do is learn from his own video, from video of his own mistakes. So, I know you love sharing. After a couple of days after a game, you'll clip something and you'll share that on Twitter or X, and obviously you find that as a really good educational tool on here's what you could learn from this player. What should players How should players use video themselves to get better and take those insights? What's the best way for players to do that themselves?
So if you're looking at your own film, it's almost trying to take that third person view where you know all the reasons why you kind of did what you did. But also just take moments to stop. Like, okay, what else? What else was available? What maybe didn't I notice or what didn't I see? Um, those type of things are very critical because everything makes sense to you because you're the one that did it. But you need to be able to analyze, was it a good decision or bad decision? And good and bad isn't always just like, did it work? You can be making a terrible decision and it works. And you're going to reinforce in yourself, oh, yeah, I should do that again. Or the opposite of like, it didn't work. Therefore, it was a terrible decision. Well, it could have been a great decision, bad bounce. The numbers weren't in your favor that day, but next time it's going to work. On average, 10 to 15% of shots go in, and it's just a numbers game. You missed 9 in a row. Well, someone's due. It's going to be you. So just keep with it. That's where my mind goes when it comes to that.
Perfect. All right. So I think we've covered, all everything about the actual game and how to learn from it and making decisions and things like that. Let's get into some of the kind of hockey tactics that we weren't able to cover in our last conversation. Maybe just talk about how and direction of your pivot, what that means, and what your insights are related to that.
Yeah, so proper pivoting. So you're defenseman, you're facing a rush, someone's trying to attack you. They dump a puck, for example, behind you. Do you go left to pivot? Do you go right to pivot? The big thing here is again, we're trying to control space, we're trying to control momentum, control speed. The earlier we can do that, the better. So you have access to space. So similar to some things that even like Lane Hudson will do is where we're pivoting into the side that the player chooses. So we're letting the forechecker kind of choose their side, and as they're doing it, we're pivoting, we're opening up, not crossing feet as much as we possibly can, keeping clean feet, pivot into their side. So now we're able to control their speed, their momentum. So they may get first touch, but now they're not really going to be able to skate very well. We'll be able to get good body contact. Or if we're able to get in front of them properly, they're going to push us into the puck. And maybe we have some separation. Or we're able to put them on our back. We've got controlled speed, so we're not just getting put through the end wall. So the proper pivoting, we want to keep clean feet, but also we want to choose which direction do we go. Like the classic youth hockey is like a player bounces a puck off a wall, then they go to, so if it's a righty, they're bouncing it off, say, the left wall. They're going to go to the right side of the defenseman. Well, the defenseman pivoted towards the puck. Puck is already by them, and the player's in on a breakaway. Like that's a classic terrible pivot. You want to actually be going with the player. They're the ones that's going to have to intercept the puck at some point. Might as well control them, and then you can pick up the puck from there. So just classic example of the pivot and the proper pivot direction. Let as much as you can. Let the forechecker choose that direction before you go. Get a little chip to control speed, whether you're going to get the puck or they'll get the puck first. So who's getting first touch?
Got it. And that relates to your other attribute of position before possession, and then that dovetails with it. So you immediately move towards position before possession after the pivot, as I understand. Is that correct?
You got it. Yep. Yeah, you want to gain that positioning so we've got ability to get that puck first. You're turning what maybe been a 50-50 race into an 80-20 where you're in control. or you've got a greater influence on that puck battle.
Perfect. All right. So I think you talked about this subject a little bit earlier. In fact, I'm sure you did when you talked about putting the puck to a space. And so if we've covered this, and we'll move on to the next one. But you did mention tape to space as another bullet point in your presentation.
Yeah, tape to space. So rather than the hard tape to tape pass, what else can we do? One of my favorite I think it was Torrey Krug. He took a slap shot off the end wall to Pasternak coming in and goes backhand, forehand, or it might have been another. Actually, I think it's happened twice with Pasternak. He's done this. One was Krug off the end wall, and the other one, I forget the other defenseman, but it was I think it was overtime playoffs against the Leafs, maybe. Just a little bank pass off the end. And then the greatest combo of this was the City and brothers. Like how many times they would place pucks just into space that no one else could get them but the other twin. Like it was insane. Everyone should go back and watch like 22 minutes of the City and brothers on YouTube, just playing with everyone, like throwing down cycles. That's a tape to space, throwing it off the end wall, throwing it over to an area at very low speed where the puck's basically coming to a standstill, and then the other brother, speeds into it. So not 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 every puck needs to go tape to tape hard on the tape. I'd actually say that hurts player development when a coach is demanding everything needs to be hard tape to tape. There's so much to be seen earlier, and whether it be guiding players or just seeing the space earlier than the defense. It's very hard for defenders to see space and the threatening space that is available to be attacked, but it's very easy to see that direct player, that direct pass. So there's a lot of opportunities, and I know the best players are unbelievable. The higher and higher level you go, you'll see more and more times where you'll see very few tape to tape passes other than like an open play area. But as soon as we're getting into the offensive zone or we're attacking off the rush, there'll be a lot of soft passes where it's not really hard. And there's some touch there, which for me as a coach, I love to do competition where we're going to make hard tape to tape passes, immediately go into an activity that requires touch. And we're just going to make area passes. So that's always humorous for me because some players have yet to develop the touch, and those hard passes that I just primed in their heads are still going. So it's one, humorous for me, but also two, to show them, okay, you might need to have a variety of passing weights.
All right. So um, you may have touched on this already, but is there anything additional that you want to talk on the defensive skating side as the puck's going by them or around them, around clean feet?
So clean feet, the number one is you don't want to cross your feet. So for me, whenever I'm watching defensemen nowadays, on the rush, and this is definitely something I've developed much later on, is just the awareness of defensive footwork. The more I talk to players that are in the NHL, they know what's going on here. Like if a defenseman turns to pivot, we're stopping up. Okay, there's an opportunity to create space because they've got to now take an extra hard pivot, hard stride in order to go that. The other bit would be if you're crossing your feet. I love the McDavid one where he's pretending to go across I mean, it's literally as soon as that foot comes off the ice for Morgan Riley to go cross over to try to keep with him laterally, McDavid darts in behind, and it was like the easiest breakaway ever. But really, it was one of the most impressive rushes you'll ever see. So that's big. And then just being able, from a defensive standpoint, to laterally move. You've got to be able to deload your edges, kind of get in that shuffle position. I always think about basketball. I always teach shuffling. Nick Lidstrom is the ultimate king on that. You never really catch him in a crossover. He's always doing hard shuffling, like he's almost like barely shaving ice on the glide. Like it's quite impressive how he's got his edges in such a neutral position that allows him or allowed him to cover so much space even into his 40s where you'd rarely see him get beat wide. Well, it's so easy for that to happen to everyone else. But I would just say, from a defensive standpoint, how do we get rid of crossovers as much as humanly possible? And through that is a lot of shuffling, a lot of unloading our edges where we're not stuck on our inside edges.
Yeah, I watched a lot of Lidstrom up close when the Sharks and the Red Wings played in the playoffs, and his posture was just he just never moved out of that posture. He was just moving his whole body all in one motion to one side or the other.
Yeah, the only time he ever would get out of his posture is when he's trying to stick someone to the boards and he put that knee right in front, right between your legs and put an arm on you and you weren't going anywhere.
Gotcha. Okay, last couple of questions because probably need to start winding this up. And this is on more on the mental side of things. What is a mental map?
Yeah, so a mental map is basically taking in all the information on the ice and from other players to build out an idea of the game that allows you to quickly diagnose what needs to happen next. So the map is an acquiring of information. Where are the players on the ice? What direction are they going? What part of the shift are they? What handedness are they? And how does that all then play into what do we want to do? Oh, I know that this defense has been on here for a minute and a half. Well, this is a great opportunity to attack them when I maybe normally wouldn't. Or I'm skating to a puck. I don't have vision on it. It's hard to get my shoulder around because I'm in a one-on-one race tightly with defensemen. But I already know in my brain that my teammate was here. He's moving over here to the dot. I can just feather a puck in there without even having to look, and I can play immediately. So you've built out this map that allows you to quickly make great decisions, understand the situations that you can take advantage of, or you maybe need to protect you and your teammates over time. So building that map is that just an acquisition of it's kind of like RAM, that short-term access in your computer for those computer science nerds. It's that
Random
top
access
of
memory. Yeah.
yeah, that easy to get stuff, that short-term memory bank that you can utilize to quickly make great plays.
Got it. So basically, you're describing, all the stuff that Martin St. Louis has talked about in terms of what made him such a successful player, of him just always knowing where to be and what's going on the ice, and remembering all these details.
Yeah, yeah. The level of details that I put into my mental map was like half of what he put into his. So it's very easy to understand why he was a Hall of Famer.
Gotcha. So it's even impressive that you got to half. So congratulations on that. Last piece of it. So related to this is, what mental activities do you recommend that these players do, like to get good at this stuff? During the season, before games, between shifts, while on the ice. How do you work on this, and how do you kind of exercise and develop that muscle?
Um, okay, so you named a bunch of different situations here. So let's start with the game. So you've got your pre-game visualizations, right? There's certain situations you're just going to come up with a ton. Strong side winger, probably to get the breakout on the half wall. Okay, where do we need to go? What are we going to see? How are you going to approach that situation? Visualize it. If you've played a team a few times, like you probably have an idea of how each player likes to play you differently. If you're a right winger throughout the game, like you're going to see the left defenseman a few times. Like there's only two or three of them that you're really going to see on any team. You should probably know what they like, what they don't like by this time. So how am I going to go about playing that? So visualize that in your brain. Be ready for it. There's things that you can just preload. Like I love passing progressions, especially on defensive breakouts. We should be looking from inside out and we should be looking from far to short. So similar to an NFL quarterback, you're looking for the big play. If it's not there, okay, let's dial it down a little bit. Let's work the middle. If it's not there, let's go outside. You start programming what do great plays look like? What are the dangerous plays look like? And then back off from there and simplify rather than start with simple and then add the more aggressive approach. So you can read a game faster. You kind of have an idea, I want to go here. Okay, that's not available. Now I go here. So you're starting to visualize and program these things in so you can make good decisions quickly. And then you can also have an idea of like, oh, this was a great decision. You can start filtering in that self-coaching, accurate self-assessment, etc. And then between shifts, you always need to reset. You need to learn, but then you need to reset. So let's think about how that shift went, what went well, what didn't, learn from it, and move on. I do a scout, what I call a scouting hack. I don't have the time to watch a full game, so I'll just go in and tune in the third period. If you stink in the third period, either one, your conditioning sucks. And that tells me a lot. Or number two, you're not learning from the game. Like you're not getting better as the game goes on. Getting better as the game goes on. You're probably playing the cat and mouse game. So I'll tune into a third period whenever I'm doing like my mock NHL scouting. So I got my team revac from these past, I think it's like 5 drafts. And that's something I definitely look for is like, are we able to learn through the game of what works, what doesn't work, how do I want to play this player versus not based on what they're willing to give and not give, or how can I threaten them, put them in situations where they don't want to be. For me, I think one of the highest things that you can ever have as an offensive player is you're being known as a guy or girl who asks questions. And if you're asking questions, the defense, they got to make decisions. And when they're making decisions, they're making mistakes.
Perfect. All right. So I think you've covered everything, especially the progressions there. I like that. To kind of treat it like a quarterback of trying to figure out, what all your different options are. That's about everything that I had. Anything else that I missed that you kind of feel like is a big topic that we should be covering?
You covered a lot of good stuff, a lot of good detail. Um, I think another piece that we can talk about, maybe back on player development. One of the things that really annoys me is like the dynamic skating, as we'll call it, where we just ride our inside edges for no reason. Like we're gonna go inside edge to inside edge. I'm like, every player knows their inside edge. If you ever watch any player ever start to skate, they're a tripod and they're both hardcore on their inside edges. Like it adds very little. The only time that it's ever any good is when we're focusing on some posture. And even then we can do it on our outside edges. So if we're going to ride edges, it should be outside edge to outside edge for the life of me. But meanwhile, I see it so often. We'll just do inside edge to inside edge down the ice, around and roundabout, or down in the line. Drives me wild. Like I have no idea what we're adding, other than if you're working on your posture. But that if you don't have that, you clearly never learned to skate, and you must be an alien. So I'll take that as something that annoys the living crap out of me. The second piece, just from maybe more of a coaching standpoint, is redefining roles. So making it a visual picture, like my favorite Mike Tomlinism from the Steelers, which is the best NFL football team. We're guaranteed another 9-8 season. Would, would be like instead of saying focus, he's like, don't blink. Like you are automatically know like, oh, okay, I need to be locked in at all times. I need to be focusing. So don't blink. So stuff like that. We're thinking about maybe like forechecking roles or support roles. Like Kim McCullough has a great one about near close support. Like you got to be the backpack player. Like you take your backpack with you. Like that's great close support. Be the backpack player. In the NHL, they call it second quick. I'm like, I'll take the backpack player all day. Like that will stick with you rather than a second quick. So finding ways to, whether you're a coach, player, parent, find those mnemonic devices of sorts to help visualize what does this situation call for me to do. What is the role? Am I, the bull in the china shop that's F1? Am I more the eagle that's soaring above, trying to snuff out where the puck might be going and create the extra support there? So just finding ways to mentally have it stick in your head, so when you're in the heat of the moment in the battle, that it actually sticks.
Perfect. That's a great way to end it. Well, thanks for putting up with all my questions about preparing for the season, fundamentals of player development, getting into some gameplay, and obviously tremendous amount around hockey tactics. So thanks for putting up with all my questions.
Ray, I think one of the highest compliments someone can ever give is you ask great questions. And I got to say, you ask wonderful questions. So thank you so much for taking the time and spending the time and putting those thoughts down and those questions. The curiosity is one of those things that forever keeps us young and growing, and something I value very much, hopefully in my own life and those surrounding me. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, and just so you know, it's for very selfish reasons because I immediately take what you say and then I hand them over to my kids and say, "Go listen to what Greg said and go do them." So it's very selfish that I ask all these questions.
The best compliment I think I've ever gotten with the newsletter is someone that I know very well, one of my buddies, was like, "Look, I just take one of my players that's struggling, hand them one of your hockey IQ articles, and they play better." I'm like, beautiful,
That's what it's all about.
little turnkeys. So, thanks again, Ray. This is wonderful.
That concludes this week's episode. Thanks for joining us here at Hockey IQ. If you haven't already, take a quick moment to hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and drop a review. If you want to be a great teammate, even recommend us to a friend. You can follow us at Hockey's Arsenal on Twitter and Instagram. Check out the website hockeysarsenal.com where you can subscribe to the weekly newsletter. You won't regret it. Catch you buttes here next week for a brand new episode.